the Malinovsky Tank School.
This institution, like other military academies all over the world, is a symbol of the soldier's eternal struggle against Murphy's Law. In battle, almost everything that can go wrong will. So armies put a huge effort into teaching their officers to impose order on the chaos. The Russians have been doing that here for over 180 years. This palace was originally built for Catherine the Great, but ever since 1812, it's been a military academy where Russian and later Soviet officers have learned the rules of the game. The weapons of war have changed over the years, of course. Cavalry officers once learned how to use horses in battle here. Now it's the Malinovsky Armored Forces Academy. But the basic rules haven't changed.
Так, Первый Прибалтийский фронт был усилен.
Teaching officers to impose order on the chaos of battle is a thankless job because the environment of combat cannot be mastered by set rules. Yet the effort must be made, even if success can never be more than partial. And the rules of combat, based on how weapons work and, more importantly, how human nature works under stress, are basically the same for everybody.
Если говорить о тактике действий, современных соединений, частей.
If we talk about the tactics of modern combined arms units, there's no big difference between our units and, let's say, the Americans.
Наших подразделений частей и тактикой действий возьмем американцев, для примера.
Поэтому все фронты, участвующие в операции...
Tactics and strategy must be learned, but simply knowing the rules doesn't mean you win the game.
The great secret about military strategy is that there are no secrets about strategy. Any competent soldier can look at the Golan Heights or anywhere else and tell you everything there is to know about the place, militarily speaking, in a few hundred well-chosen words. If you're Syrian, you want to head westwards towards Israel, then you take that route or you take that route. If you're Israeli and you want to stop them, then you make your stand there or there. No secrets, very few surprises. Yet no soldier can tell you how the battle will actually come out. Making the plans is easy enough. Making them work amidst the chaos and destruction and fear of a real battle is very difficult. Can you tell me how a battle works?
Well, in my opinion, a battle never works. It never works according to plan. That's what I mean.
General Dan Lanner commanded the Israeli forces on the southern half of the Golan Heights during the 1973 war.
Yes, that's right, but the plan is only a common base for changes. Because it's very important it be common. Everybody should know the plan, so you can change easily. But the modern battle is very fluid, and you have to make your decisions very fast, and mostly not according to the original plan.
But at least everybody knows where you're coming from.
And where you're going to, more or less.
But getting there is never certain. General Yossi Ben Hanan commanded a tank brigade on the Golan Heights in 1973. On the sixth day of the war, with only 8 tanks left, he got behind the Syrian front line.
And once we arrived to the rear, we took positions, and all the positions were very exposed. And we opened fire, and for about 20 minutes we destroyed whoever we could see, because we were in a great position there. I decided to charge and try to get that hill, but I had to leave some tanks in cover, and I charged with 6 tanks. They opened fire from the flank with anti-tank missiles, and in a matter of seconds, 3 out of the 6 tanks were blown up. There was a big explosion in my tank. I blew out of the tank. I was left there for a couple of hours. And also the whole attack was a mistake. Yes, I think so.
What's it like when the tank gets hit?
Using some understatement, it's very uneasy. You know, it's not much fun.
I mean, how long do you have when the tank is hit to get clear of it?
I don't have much. I don't know. It's a big. It depends what hit you. In that particular case, my tank was hidden was hit by anti-tank missile. It's a very big explosion, and the penetration is an immediate penetration and a big explosion inside.
General Ben-Hanan is a very competent officer, but his attack failed and some of his men died. He took a chance, and he was wrong. There are so many variables in combat a commander cannot control, and so many things he simply does not know. It happens to everybody in war. For example, on the second day of the 1973 war, the Syrians broke completely through the Israeli defenses on the southern half of the Golan Heights. There were no Israeli troops at all in front of them.
Another 2 hours and they'd be down off the Golan on the Jordan River crossing, ready to strike into northern Israel itself. So they stopped. During the night, the first Israeli reserves coming up from the south were rushed up here to set up some kind of defense, and the Syrians never got any further. But why did they stop in the first place? The deputy commander of the 47th Brigade, a Major Kultum, was captured later by the Israelis, said that this had looked an obvious place for an Israeli defense. The Syrians couldn't see any Israelis, but of course they were here somewhere waiting in ambush. So the Syrians had decided to wait for reinforcements.
It was a mistake, and it cost Syria the whole battle. But if the Syrian commander had taken a chance and pushed on right away, and the Israelis had been waiting in ambush, he would have been wrong too. You can do everything right in combat and still fail. Combat is a high wire act. If you don't move, you risk falling off. If you make the wrong move, the risk is equally great, and there's no way of being certain what the right move is.
Combat between people, it's people trying to stay alive and to kill the other side, is a very complicated game. We come to a stage that military operations should be very, very professional. It's not a game for amateurs anymore.
What makes the job of the officer in combat unique is the constant pressure of having to do something and risk the lives of his men, and also, as far as possible, keep himself alive to go on leading them. Vietnam, 1969.
And as we were going into the position, there was a large rice field we had to walk across. And I remember that I had to send somebody else across first, and you think, well, who do I send? Do I go myself? But being the leader, you can't afford that. And you had to send somebody across, and if you sit back and think about it, you say, well, am I sacrificing this individual? Am I sending him out there to draw fire? That may be part of it, but it's better to send an individual rather than walk out there in your entire force. And I remember pointing to an individual and telling him to go. There was one moment of hesitation that he looked at me and, do you mean me? Do you really mean it, 9-1? And the look I must have given him, he knew that I meant it, and he went across the field. Everybody was watching that individual. I started sending him across in twos, and it was no problem. Then I took my entire force across. When we were about halfway across, they came up behind us, the VC, and they were in spider holes. And they caught most of my unit in the open. Now, tactically, I had done everything the way it was supposed to be done, but we lost some soldiers. Would I have done it different? I don't think I would have, because that's the way I was trained. Did we lose less soldiers by my doing it that way? That's a question that will never be answered.
You lead by example. I don't think it was unknown that I was afraid to be shot at. I didn't like it. I don't think anyone does. But I did what had to be done given the situation at any given time. And I think that's a contagious type thing. When the shooting starts and things start happening, you do what has to be done. And other people start doing what has to be done, and it's a team effort.
So long as people feel they can improve their chances of survival by acting together, the system usually works.